the Fauci was finally the panel, the Senate panel did vote to hold Fauci in contempt, and
Did
then yeah, and then and then Rand Paul put the delivered the note, so they got what they wanted from him. This whole nonsense, I feel like.
but is so I don't know exactly how it works, or like it seems again based off of just like what I read and my limited understanding of like this is potential like uh, uh can lead to like some sort of constitutional like this has never like been tested type of thing. Since he was pardoned, it's like it seems to create some sort of like very weird situation. Uh, but maybe I'm mistaken about that.
Yeah, it's like whether or not you can be held liable for what you're doing. Um, like pardon admits the guilt, and then but that's the idea is like, how could you should be able to you did take in the guilt in order to be pardoned, so therefore you shouldn't be able to plead the fifth about something that.
Right, for like self-incrimination type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I don't, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly what it is, but I thought that was like the gist
Yeah,
of it.
but like I feel like what I mean, I again I'm no lawyer, but
Mhm.
like part of it, what they were trying to do is get Fauci to lie to Congress, right?
Exactly.
So like that would be a brand new charge, and something they can get him for. So like his best move seemed to be to not say anything. But again, like it's unclear to me how that's supposed to work. I mean, like I would think if you're pardoned, then you could just say whatever about your past charge. But I don't know, or like your past allegations, I guess.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think even then, based off what I read, like it still has to whatever eventually reach like the DOJ, and I think a decision has to be made of like, well, do you actually pursue anything, or like it seems like based on what I read, the impression I got was like the chance of this actually leading to something or like Fauci behind bars or anything or being prosecuted seems to be low.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, this is all it basically it just shows that this was all for they were gonna do this anyway kind of thing. And it was
Mhm.
all for the nonsense that he was talking about for um the show trial, man. It was just a fake like thing that they wanted to do. Thousands of things that they could have investigated instead of that. And it's just a shame that um I don't know, the idea of after every pandemic, if you just go down the line and blame and charge every single person that's not the president of the United States during that, it just kind of hurts people, real people from like stepping forward that are serious. It's just, I think that's the hurt at the end of the day.
Yeah, and also from what I understand, this uh, going after Fauci seems to be largely spearheaded, although not only, but largely spearheaded by Rand Paul. As in, I think he
Mhm.
explicitly said multiple times, so like he wants Fauci behind bars.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, are you really acting as like a overall objective actor or somewhat unbiased actor, or I think he almost makes it explicitly clear that he has an agenda, as in like
Yeah.
it's a foregone conclusion in his mind. So it's like I don't know how that can hold up or how that plays optically for other people, but that seems very
Yeah.
strange.
I don't know why, but it is been Rand Paul's just mission to go after Fauci. He just absolutely despises him.
I think it was
Um,
largely due to that one of the first Senate hearings that they had, because I was pretty content. I remember watching that, or at least seeing a number of clips of that, and I'm biased, but I
yeah,
would say Fauci made Rand Paul look pretty awful. And if anything, if you actually, I don't want to get into the weeds, but if you actually dissect what Rand Paul was doing, he was being deceitful. Um, and I don't think Rand Paul appreciated Fauci pushing back and actually standing up for himself.
yeah,
That's the impression I get.
yeah. I think that you're exactly right, and he's has this streak of like, I mean, that this libertarianism, you know, his father was kind of like the same way, you know, where it's just like, you don't have to tell me what to do. It's his 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 father was nicknamed Dr. No because he just famously just voted no as a default on every single piece of legislation. He just never was a yes vote unless it was egregiously, you know, made for him basically. And yeah, I think that he styles himself in that way. That's his archetype in his brain, you know, that he's like this fearless libertarian kind of standing up to these bullies, and Fauci is trying to tell people what to do, and that and yeah, I think it's just honestly it feels like Rand Paul is just kind of going through the motions because he knows that, you know, supporting Donald Trump is just completely anathema to what he you know, stands for, and so now he's taking it out on Fauci.
Yeah, because like from the clips that I saw and from what I've read, and well, Rand Paul also makes it clear in his own words of like he seems to hold Fauci responsible for many things, including the lockdowns. But like
Exactly.
that from what I understand, he had no actual power to implement lockdowns. He may have made a recommendation or gave his opinion, but at the end of the day, like those are all political decisions.
Exactly. It's what any CDC person would have done in the exact same scenario. It's
And you know, obviously, Fauci should not have done this, but like the implication, because this was during the first lockdowns, that was during the Trump administration, right?
mhm.
When Trump was
Yeah,
president. So like arguably, if Rand Paul is holding Fauci responsible for the lockdowns, like he's almost making the case that he was more powerful than Trump or the governors. And would
yeah,
he bite that bullet? Like
exactly.
if Fauci asked him, like, oh, so you're saying that I can override the president and his decisions?
Fauci famously ran the entire country,
Yeah.
and Trump famously is a person that stands back and doesn't try to get in front of or in the middle of every single issue that he's ever in.
And
Like,
again, Fauci played it smart in not saying anything, but like, you know, there's a part of me that wishes like I think if you press it appropriately, because Trump, in his own words, he has the biggest brain. So even if Fauci made the recommendation, shouldn't Trump be able to, you know, come up with the wisest decision or whatnot?
I was hoping that you know, that Fauci would do the same thing and kind of push him a little bit, but you know, I can, dude, I can see him just wanting to be over it. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
give it
I,
up
I think
to,
he wants to move on. Understandably,
yeah.
he's
I mean,
probably in the twilight of his life. So
what it completely exonerates is Biden like pardoning him. This is exactly why like that this happened. Like I am so happy that he did get a pardon. That so because this is exactly what he thought was going to happen, and they kind of just got baited into it, and it's just, I don't know. In any other time, it'd be embarrassing for the Republicans, but they don't care. They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't, you know, it's just is what it is.
do you think it's possible, you know, not that I'm necessarily looking to give the most charitable interpretation, but do you think it's possible that, like, since they know that he was pardoned and that, like, the likelihood of something coming for this is, like, low, that maybe incentivizes them to put on the show? As in, well, we know that nothing can really come for this, so why not just make a show of it type of thing? As in, like, if he wasn't pardoned and there's actually a higher likelihood of consequences, maybe that would disincentivize them of like, well, actually, we don't want to lock up Fauci since I would hope there'd be backlash for that, but that's not necessarily a foregone conclusion.
What do you think, Prime? I don't know.
What backlash?
Yeah, exactly.
I would hope there would be at least some sort of like there should still hopefully be people that support Fauci, either in the general public or in the political realm. But I understand if, you know, I guess people don't want to stand up for that. But I hope
I don't know what backlash would happen. I mean, I don't know. Liberals being outraged that Fauci is getting beat up on. Mission accomplished. That's what's happening right now, right? I don't know what negative consequences could happen. I mean, if they did nail Fauci for whatever reason, their stars would only rise within the conservative.
It's true.
You know, yeah,
for sure. For some of them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, for all of them, for Republicans, I don't see yeah, I'm trying to understand what would be the downside for them to do this. Even if they, whatever they got him on was, spurious or whatever, right? Like whatever, they're not actually like all they would be doing is setting him up so that someone else can do the prosecuting because they're not prosecutors, right?
Mhm.
And so if those charges fall through, or they're found to be, how like evidence was made up. I mean, to be the prosecutor's problem, not their problem. As long as they didn't make up the evidence, right? Um, so yeah, I just don't see any any downside for the senators, like at
Yeah.
all. Actually,
Okay, that's fair.
I think that
yeah,
this is definitely them. They're also kind of able to, like Massey and those type of people could argue that these are investigations to help mitigate like backlash to the Epstein files or something like that. I think like wasting time, wasting government money, but I don't think that even the Massey like Epstein files, the focused Republicans would defend Fauci in this scenario. They all love to lambast him and go after him, you know. So
Yeah, no, I was like, trying to be optimistic that there would be at least some support for Fauci that would be
yeah.
vocal. Not that I would think that they would storm the Capitol to release Fauci, but
There's more liberals that are proud and happy with Trump on Operation Warp Speed than there are Republicans that want to defend a 50-year public servant. Like
that's true.
we're
Probably,
so
certainly.
that is the way of the land, it seems. But anything you wanted to say, Prime, on this one?
I don't know, not really. Like it seems more or less our same discussion as last week. Republicans being dishonest and going after this guy. Yeah, I hope they fail. Um,
Yeah, agreed, man. All right. Well, next up, FDA approves Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine, guys. The agency had initially refused to even review the application, but reversed course after public outcry. The FDA on Wednesday
See,
approved.
so as in, I would hope there would be that public outcry for Fauci.
Yeah,
If you have it for
exactly.
the
I'm
flu
like, wait,
vaccine.
what? I'm shocked, honestly. Enabling use of a technology that will make it easier to rapidly target a wildly prevalent or particularly virulent strain of the virus. The approval of the vaccine called M-Flusiva, which is
Terrible
manufactured
name,
by
in my opinion.
yeah, exactly, which is manufactured by Moderna, follows a series of blows to mRNA research directed by RFK Jr., including the cancellation of 22 projects meant to develop vaccines with mRNA technology through the government's Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. Initially, the FDA had refused to even review Moderna's application for approval earlier this year, but quickly reversed course after public outcry. The flu kills more than 300,000 people worldwide each year and was particularly harsh in 2024 to 2025 season, with an estimated 45,000 deaths in the United States, including at least about 300 people reported cases being children, according to the CDC. So I'm honestly shocked that the public outcry is the thing that they are talking about. But I mean, good for people, man. I mean, this is they I the data is so overwhelming. That is also the problem here. I feel like there is really good data to support these vaccines, and it is ongoing here into the article. In the case of the flu, scientists believe that the mRNA technology offers an advance from traditional vaccine options that take several months to prepare using decades old technology, some requiring the virus to develop in fertilized eggs. Moderna has said that the faster new approach will enable a shift away from the current process of focusing on one flu strain for an entire hemisphere each season and allow each nation to pick its best option. That's incredible. That is really cool.
Yeah, huge advantage of the platform, because sometimes, from what I understand, in terms of seasonal flu vaccine development, it's like they have to sort of like make a prediction, months in advance. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, what strains do we think are going to be circulating, come whatever fall, winter.
Exactly.
Sometimes those predictions are not like the best, or they're not like quite spot on. But then it's like once they made a decision and they started manufacturing and developing, it's like they're set down a path, as opposed to with this platform, it should introduce or have the ability to be more flexible, or at least, delay the decision and scale up quicker. And so that seems like a huge advantage of this platform. And yeah, I agree with you. The data appear to be pretty robust and promising, and like, yeah, I'm curious how much longer, let's say, MAGA Republicans will ignore this technology, because technology just presses forward. And like when that mRNA cancer vaccine is there, okay, like are they going to continue being vaccine skeptics or anti-vax? I imagine not.
Yeah, exactly. I'd hope, man. The problem is they don't even understand what it is. That's the problem. The other thing that frustrates me so much. It's like they really don't have no idea what it is to begin with, right?
No.
And then it's like they're just being obstinate just to be that way. And there's, hey, what's up, the anti-fascist frogs in chat? What's up, man? So it is such a breakthrough. It genuinely is. I mean, basically the strain is a live attenuated virus. So what that means is that it's been evolved to not kill the host, but it's used in, it's through evolution. Basically the virus stays similar enough that it gives you a vaccine to the one that's circulating, but that's evolved to the way that it doesn't like harm the host. So it gives you the immune response. Your body sees that pieces of the antigen and then creates the antibodies, to match. But it just takes a long time, guys. You gotta grow these things. You gotta culture them. You gotta isolate them. You gotta grow them. You gotta culture them. You gotta isolate them. So just being able to say, okay, we actually just want this bit of the genome, and then we want to mass produce it inside your body. I mean, that could take. I mean, how long does sequencing take? 2 days, and then you put that sequence in the vector. And Moderna was talking about how they could change the sequence of the SARS-CoV-2 vaccines in 11 days. So
yeah, imagine the turnaround time is just going to get better and better.
As opposed to months, about absolute months. So does the mRNA vaccine differentiate between the A and B influenza? That's a really good question, Magnolia Chan. I think they would have to. I mean, they did famously. So we actually, during COVID, we did do social distancing enough that we don't actually have one of the strains of influenza actually went extinct. So it's no longer there. So it's been eradicated. And they did remove it from the vaccine. So 3 out of the 4 before COVID are actually in the vaccines now. So I would think that they would do all of them.
Yeah, I would imagine they should be able to get coverage for multiple strains in a single, but I don't know for sure, but it seems like it should be feasible in my mind, given the platform.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, how much longer can they deny this technology or other technologies? As in, like, one of their talking points or conspiracy theories is like the mRNA vaccine is gene therapy technology. But then, as we've been talking about here, for some weeks, is like gene therapy is in the pipeline, and it's like it's just getting more and more promising. Like, are they going to deny that when it's there, readily available to cure your congenital disease? They're gonna be like, no gene therapy for me. During COVID, I learned gene therapy bad.
Yeah, and even the last flu vaccine, the problem was that we had a mismatch, not like a mismatch, but like a poorly timed vaccine pull. Basically, the vaccine didn't line up with the circulating flu that was going around and harming so many kids. So that was kind of like the problem. It decreased the efficacy, right? The amount of viral load that your vaccine is going to protect you against. And already influenza, flu, the problem basically is that the incubation period is not a long time. So SARS-CoV-2, influenza, it only needs like 1 or 2 days in your system to go exponentially growth, and your viral load increases in that way, and that's why you get the immune response, right? Something like measles, for example, is going to take, I think it's like 10 to 12 days or something, the incubation period.
Yeah,
So
I believe it's
basically, it
longer.
ramps up your body's innate immune system, gets a chance to fight off the infection when the viral load's still really low. So that's the kind of that is the really important part about SARS-CoV-2 and influenza is like you have to get that sequence as good as possible, right? As good as we can. And we saw that in the Moderna original ones, 94.1% efficacy in the original SARS-CoV-2 vaccines, like one of the best vaccines that we've ever produced. So it is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. I I'm very curious to see how the technology further evolves,
Mhm.
where it's probably gonna get to the point like, yeah, like you said, uh, the turnaround time being like a week and a half. I can imagine like, let's say it happens that, oh, they happen to have chosen wrong or they didn't quite get the right strain circulating. But then I can imagine that even in the middle of the flu season, they can make the adjustment that like even during the middle of the flu season, they can
Dude,
actually
that's what I can't.
further optimize.
Every month, update it every month. Just have it constantly going. Like I that's what I don't get. Right? Have it constantly being updated over time, so people that are getting it, you're not getting a 10-month-old or an 11-month-old vaccine if you
Well, I
happen
don't
to get
disagree,
like,
but I
you
can
know?
imagine as a company they're doing some sort of cost benefit analysis of like, yeah, we could, but like if someone got a flu shot in October, but then like this is the better one in November, what's likely that they're going to take it, even if like we can show that it's better. Like some people are just like, I'm sure there's a percentage of the population that just don't want to get another one for a variety of reasons.
From
But I could be
chat,
wrong.
these vaccines go from FDA to production very fast, correct? Yeah, Magnolia. Yeah, they they go. Yeah, they are very fast. Just in general, I mean, they're very efficacious. They don't have any like they're pretty easy. So yeah.
The only, let's say, slight drawback, although even then, so based off of the article, uh, they mentioned that the side effect profile of the Moderna seems to be, maybe slightly worse than your conventional flu vaccine.
Mhm.
But even then, I think it's just a increase in comparison, like higher rates of, let's say, headache and like injection site pain, all that stuff. It doesn't seem like anything major, just basically
Yeah.
a slight uptick in minor side effects.
Did that gene editing tragedy in China set the field back? That's a good question, Nico. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I think eh, you know, that I don't think so. I think that if it was in the US, it would probably be a little bit bigger, to be blunt.
Let's
But
just say, I don't think it set China back. I don't think they're
yeah,
deterred from pushing it
yeah,
further.
China's like, we're good, we're fine.
Not that that's my endorsement. I'm just attempting to describe reality, as
Yeah,
in, I think China's going to press forward, like almost no matter what.
for
Even if it
sure.
were, even more tragic of like 2 deaths or 3, I would predict
Yeah,
them to just press forward.
exactly. Um, let's see.
Um,
Go Prime, go.
so I mean, I don't have anything to say on like the efficacy of this. That's beyond me. Hopefully it's good. I want more good things. I want better, pharmaceutical products, and I want lives to be saved. So, hopefully it's everything you guys say it is. Um, I agree with Corey on one thing in terms of like, like creating multiple vaccines. Like, I, I mean, it seems like you'd have to train the public to understand that, like, oh, you're gonna get a shot, but then it may not be you still may not like the idea people have in their heads is that like I get the shot and then I'm good, right?
Yeah, and
Then you
like
don't want
for
to train the
life.
public. Yeah, well, not for like, yeah, but for when we talk about the flu vaccine, right? Like we're like, even if it's seasonal, like, oh, I'm good for the season. We train them to think that like, oh, you have to get multiple to actually be safe. Then that kind of undermines like vaccines in general, like the idea of them, and that I'm not sure we want to go down that route. Now it could be good for immunocompromised people who like really need extra protection, but like getting people to like cycle through to get a new shot, one every few months. It's just a logistical nightmare, and like I don't know, it feels like you could have blowback effects that
Yeah,
we
that is
don't fully
my
understand.
concern.
You
I
wouldn't
mean,
have to like get him updated every few months. It would more be um like the update cycle would just be like more rapidly that the it would be like a software development thing where you are uploading and running the beta on your computer as opposed to the stable build. Like the stable build comes every 2 years, but you're missing out on some of the features of the new beta build. Are there going to be some bugs in the beta build? Like for sure, like that aren't in the stable one. But you have a lot of benefits too. So it that yeah, you'd still be on the one year vaccine schedule.
well, I mean, yeah, let's say for, let's say fundamental coverage. Um, but that's where it's like, uh, my concern is based off of the experience with COVID. If I remember correctly, like we already had issues with like um, booster coverage. We're getting people to take boosters as
Mhm.
we recognize, like, oh, given the evolution of the virus and all that stuff, it's like maybe boosters every 6 months to a year would be recommended depending on the population. And even then, like some people, I think I remember almost explicitly, some people were like, I just got my initial 2 doses and that's it. I'm done. I'm not taking any more, like on principle. Um, and so I can only imagine, like, yeah, if there was any sort of
Mm.
like marketing or messaging, like, oh, yes, you got your flu vaccine in October, but there's a better one now, November, December. You should get that. I think some people are just gonna dig in their heels. I don't know. I hope to be wrong, but I'm just going by my experience of COVID from what I remember. Like some people just seem to have this principle of like a vaccine should be this, and like if I have to get any more shots, it's just like not going to happen. It seems like for some people, it's just like their tolerance level seems to be quite low for
But
Yeah.
a number of reasons.
you could also argue that they didn't want to get it because it was not good, 6 months into the pandemic or something. And if we gave something that we argued that, hey, this is the best possible thing every single time you walk into that door, we're giving you the best technology, the best vaccine that we possibly have.
I think you do. I mean, I think you have to make that case. I'm not sure just with that messaging alone that would convince people. I would hope it would,
Mhm.
because I'd agree with you that like I'm on the side of like the, the technology will get better, and like if there's an update, like I get my code boosters to this day, like every 6 months. I'm up to like booster number like whatever 12 or something, some
Yeah.
ridiculous number. Um, but uh, yeah, I think just the multiple doses in of itself seems to undermine the concept for some people of like how can this be great if I'm getting injected multiple times.
Yeah.
Thing.
And this just actually, I'm just getting it in. We're actually putting the new. We're okay. We are. Wow. Okay. This is breaking, guys. We're actually putting in flu vaccines in with TRT now and RFK's pro vaccine. Wow. Look at that. Every day you're gonna
Well,
get
then
vaccinated
that will
every
definitely
single day.
convince the men to get
That's
their monthly dosage for sure.
that's
And now I'm
that's
on
just
board.
there you go. Amazing. I love that. Thank you, RFK. Thank you for helping us out. keeping America vaccinated.
So I agreed with Corey on that, right? On the the problem with like having multiple flu vaccines, and he brought up good points about like how people reacted to COVID. Um, and like I don't know, like there's also just a bit of a hassle, that is involved with like going to either some sort of doctor's office or even just like going to like a CVS and then like getting jabbed, right? Like, yes, like people are trained to take pills on a regular basis, but like this
Mhm.
is different. This is more invasive and people don't like it. So I agree with Corey there. However, Corey did ask a question previously, like well, as these gene therapies, come out and for different uh, use cases, right? Will MAGA, right, and those types, the anti-vaxxers, will they still avoid this? And yes, I mean, yeah, actually, right?
Yes.
I mean, the thing that
I tend to lean towards that. Yes, that
I
they'll dig
agree.
in their heels.
the thing that we've been talking about, you know, for all these weeks and months now, isn't about like I mean it's come up obviously, but like the focus has never been like on the efficaciousness of these viruses or I'm sorry, vaccines, right? Like, yeah, they're good, they're useful, right? They save lives. We got that part. We got that part. They don't. Or at the very least, it's not even about that. Like this is not a thing that they necessarily got logicked into, and so you can't logic them out of it, right? And you'll say, well, there'll be a certain number of them who will be hurt, right? Or their children will be hurt because, this gene therapy that, could have helped with some sort of congenital disease. Well, like whatever, their kids are getting hurt now, right? Like kids are getting measles. And some kids are going to get polio. And some kids are, going to get something even more exotic. That we haven't seen here in a long time. What was it? I forget which one was it vitamin K deficiency or something that we talked about a few weeks ago?
Yeah, the vitamin K shot for
clot.
newborns and the brain hemorrhaging.
Not a vaccine, but just a shot, right?
Exactly.
Right,
It's a great example.
And yeah, and so like in terms of like protecting children, I mean, and their minds they are, right? And you can't even begin to reverse that thinking until after their kids are hurt, right? Or they are hurt, But even then, for some of them, no, because they are so committed to the idea, it's become cultural, right? It's a cultural signifier, and they have a lot invested in maintaining that. That yeah, they'll continue. This is hey, abortion is another one of these things. Um, it's there. It's a myth that these pro-life women, right, are absolutely against having an abortion themselves, right? Some of them are, right? Some of them just like no way, just no way. They'll ever do it, even at the cost of their own lives. Just they're committed to that. Fair enough, right? But yeah, there are plenty of those conservative women who have ended up in those clinics, right?
true, very true.
And when they talk to those nurses, right, like the doctors and nurses who are in charge, right, will say, yes, like I have a problem with abortion, but you see, my situation is a bit different. You don't really understand.
I'm
No,
the exception. I'm the carve out.
no lie.
But
This is how
me.
these people fucking think.
I
It's
know.
crazy.
I
Yeah,
agree with it.
right. Yeah, but you see, I'm different, right? I'm not like those people. And they must have some sort of idea as to like I don't know, they're all harlots, like the women who are getting an abortion, right? Yeah, everyone's got a circumstance, right? Everyone's got a circumstance. And like you've heard nurses say, like, yeah, we have had situations where one of these pro-lifers have come in, all incognito like, gotten the procedure because again things are weird for me, right? Like I actually need it. And then later on, they're back out on the picket line for that abortion clinic, right? Like these people, they'll go back outside and be part of the protesters because it's cultural, right?
Yeah.
Like they have a lot invested in that whole thing. That's their social network, right?
True.
These are hell, like the picket might be organized by their church, right? And then their family, right? You can't tell their family that you've gotten abortion. You'll be excommunicated from your family and all that, right? So yeah, they got a lot committed to this. And so if you ask the question, hey, like, will these people, like as hopefully we get some like extremely effective gene therapies that like solve a whole list of problems that we have, medical issues. Will they partake? No, not if it continues to be something cultural. This pattern might break. Something could happen that like changes this situation on the right. But like I don't know what that might be. But if history continues on the way it is, There's no reason. There's no reason why not. In their
Yeah.
minds,
Yeah.
they're the good guys.
I don't disagree. I'm just trying to play out a scenario like I'm curious how this will play out, and I guess maybe we'll find out, let's say, because I can sort of at least somewhat rationalize or at least cognitively understand of like, okay, let's say when it comes to the vitamin K shot of like, many mothers just have the mentality like, well, it's a newborn and it's like, unless there's something diagnosable, like it's perfect as is. And so so the mentality is like minimal intervention. Don't do anything, but like if you're not diagnosed with the actual brain hemorrhage, like why are you injecting my baby with something? I can sort of like at least understand that frame of reference and say at least somewhat also with like, let's say the measles and all that stuff. It's like, oh, well, since it's not uh, all that fatal, or the mentality is not super high. And it's like, oh, they're young, they're robust and resilient, so they'll just get over it, and then they'll have, all that great immunity without taking into account all the other secondary effects of a measles infection. But I'm curious, like, if it's something more extreme, of in like 5, 10 years, 15 years down the line, we actually have the gene therapy to treat and cure something like cystic fibrosis, pretty much the most common genetic conditions, recessive genetic conditions, if I remember correctly. And it's like, would a parent refuse that? As in, like, their child is like on the path to like needing a lung transplant, and like, they're having multiple hospitalizations, and like, no gene therapy for my child. But like, I don't disagree with your assessment, Prime. But I would hope like that would be a turning point of like, oh, maybe I don't want to see my kid uh, drown in their own fluids as their lungs fill up with fluids. Or maybe the state has to intervene, saying, hey, actually, you are clearly not making the best decision for your child. Your child needs to get this gene therapy. I don't know.
That's tough, man. I mean, preventative stuff, I think that you have a good case of saying, and making the case for sure. I mean, vaccines are preventative medicine, so, and we know that those diseases are out there. We know that those viruses are out there, so I think that's an easy through line. It was actually we actually went and got my 4-year-old, she's going to TK, and we got her vaccines this week. And I just like looked at all they gave like a little data table of like all the vaccines, all the dates, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, dang, dude, I am so happy that these people can't hurt my little girl. You know what I mean? I'm so happy that she is shielded from these people that are seeking to do them harm. Like I really I can't get out of my mind that there are people that don't vaccinate their kids, that think it's okay and it's good to actually get measles, like stuff like that. Like it blows my mind that those people exist and they're out there. And I'm just so happy that, I mean, all those shots took, time, effort, effort afterwards, scheduling, us driving her there, and I guess for like the longest time, I always took that for granted, growing up and stuff. My mom was a nurse, so of course we had that. But man, just, yeah, thinking about that stuff and all the awful outbreaks that are happening all over there. I'm like, dang, dude, like just imagine yeah. I think it goes to show that there has to be some type of social friction, so that if someone's not doing their due diligence and not doing that, like that gets them the impetus in order to actually do that. So, in the United States, it's that social frictions, the going into public schools, and for a lot of kids, that's like the thing. They don't want to, they don't want to pay for private school, and they don't want to pay for homeschooling. So that's it.
Yeah, but in like the scenario that I outlined, and like I can totally see it playing, because I think we've talked about cases like this. I think not in the example that I brought up, but like I can't remember exactly. Like we were talking about, I think it was in the context of like the natural birth, and as a result of I think a mother, having a birth outside of the hospital, there was these severe complications on the child, and the mentality was like, well, this is like this is all part of like God's plan type of stuff, or like I think they basically said like they wouldn't have it any other way. And does that I imagine that mother does exist of like my child having cystic fibrosis and their lungs being filled with fluid and them drowning in their own fluids. That is part of God's plan. So no to gene therapy.
Well, I mean,
That.
there's Christian scientists, right? I mean, they
Yeah, no,
exist.
absolutely.
So,
But
yeah.
that's hard for me to swallow, or I don't.
Or also, like, all these things can exist simultaneously, right? Like, yeah, you get brought up cystic fibrosis, and I don't know enough about that disease, but like,
It affects the
sounds
lungs, and
sounds pretty.
basically, well, generally, you have significantly shorter life expectancy, and you just generally speaking, you end up with chronic bacterial infections in your lung that require multiple rounds of antibiotics, hospitalizations, and eventually like the damage was up in your lungs, and it's not uncommon that they just need lung transplants, or like the lungs stop functioning if they don't get a lung transplant.
Yeah. Awful.
Yes.
But like, I don't know. Most of these things can exist all at once, right? Like, once again, you know, well, the thing that I'm facing is a big deal, right? And so, I'll get this, but then I'll still like, um, tell everyone else that you're a terrible parent because you vaccinate your child, right? Like, um, you can, like, these people can just like make whatever exceptions are necessary, right? Maybe this
Sure.
thing isn't like those other things, right? Why? I don't know. I said so. And it's convenient for me. And anyway, I don't have to tell anyone that I engaged in it, right? Like, it's really that simple. Like, you could, for cystic fibrosis, you could have that therapy. You can do that, and then you go right. And after you engage in that therapy, whatever that happens look like, right? You can go to your meeting of your local anti-vaxxers and say how we're going to shut this whole thing down or something. I don't know, right? All those things can exist simultaneously.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm just more throwing out there of like in that situation that I outlined, you know, entertaining the question that we've entertained before of like, should the state intervene in that case? Do you want to go to that extent, or is it really like up to the parental decision? I don't know what the
Pretty
answer is there.
rough.
Yeah,
That's not an easy question. That's not. I don't know, man.
yeah, I don't know. I
Um,
don't. I lean towards the state intervening in there, but I'm not like, yeah, I'm not digging my heels in that position very strongly.
So this is an interesting through line to the next story. So this is a really really interesting story, and we've talked about this a couple times. But does your relationship need a mental load coach? We're bringing it back. Trust me. Okay, Zach Watson, a self-described quote recovering man child, advises other men about how to take on their fair share of household labor. New York Times, August 5th. Several months ago, Dan and Megan Nichols, a couple from Cleveland, realized that they could no longer ignore the deep rift that they had developed in their relationship. The Nicholases, married over a decade and had 3 children, had increasingly heated fights over Megan's mental load. That's the ongoing and largely invisible work of managing a household and family, including resupplying groceries, scheduling everyone's medical appointments, which is the vaccines that we were just talking about, and arranging children's extracurricular activities. In heterosexual couples, these tasks largely fall on women, even though women now make up nearly half of the U.S. workforce. I was at a breaking point. I was exhausted, she said. So the couple enlisted some help. Instead of a marriage counselor, they turned to an unlikely source, Zach Watson, a former high school math and science teacher who lives in New England. He's now describes himself as a recovering man-child who becomes a mental load coach 3 years ago. And basically, he runs like an Instagram that has 500,000 followers, and he goes through kind of these things, the not just kind of like in relationships and how we exist. And we had talked about this with Maha before, where it is a burden that they are giving and putting onto like women specifically, because women are going to be scheduling the medical appointments. So now they're kind of burdened with this, like, hey, this thing that we had figured out before, now we don't have it figured out. Now you need to figure out like whether or not to get a vaccine. And they burden with Bauhaus kind of burdened women with this. And I thought that this was interesting. I mean, he talks about more like everyday kind of stuff, like in a relationship, just men kind of taking, not asking their wife or their partner where something is, or not like doing things without being asked and that kind of stuff. There's also like the roommate, dynamic, but then also the partnership stuff that he talks about. I think it's interesting. I mean, I think mental health is very important, right? In
Absolutely.
overall health. So yeah, I was just thinking about what were your guys' thoughts on the vaccine through line, and then just thoughts in general on this.
I mean, yeah, I'm curious how your average family household comes to decisions with vaccines. As in, like, does it largely fall, to the mother? It wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me if it does. But then, like, yeah, that's just an extra burden on the mother.
Mhm.
And, well, results in scenarios or articles like this of, like, maybe it should be more evenly distributed.
Yeah.
Although, let's say, I'm not against this, but I haven't done any research on this this fair play method facilitator. I'm
Mhm.
curious of, like, what type of training that is, or like who developed this. Let's say, in principle, I'm not against this, but some of it reads to me as like a little bit of a scheme type of thing.
Yeah, it's here. Let me see if I can pull one of them up. I was listening. I was watching his content, and it was honestly like refreshing, and it's stuff that makes sense. Like, um, where I do feel like a lot of it's it's like the opposite of how these MAGA people want this trad wife that can just kind of like be their manager and mommy. It's kind of saying, "Hey, no, you have a big role to play in this, and you have that mental load, that managerial aspect of running the house doesn't have to be." Solely with the wife. And this is actually something that I was thinking about myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, my wife does do all that entire list, all the kids extracurriculars for the summer. That was all on her. The scheduling the vaccine appointments was all her. So it's like, I was like, dang, it kind of like was outing me a little bit. Let me see if you guys can
But
hear
you're there
that.
providing the data on the vaccines. That's
Yeah, right. She's a nurse. She's good. Can you guys hear this?
I can hear the
Oh, okay.
music.
Oh, he's yeah. Here, let's try this one.
I could hear the music.
Someone sent this to you. Just know that they see you in the trenches. They see you.
Shoot. I was watching one. Mental load part 366. Here we go.
Some advice I overheard in my local consignment shop from an older woman to younger women about mental load. Just got back from buying some 6-month-old clothes for these ones. As I was going through, I overheard something. A married woman of 38 years was sharing something with her younger colleagues. She was saying the entirety of the marriage, she has managed all the bills, all the billing, the accounting, the checks, the cash. She's done all that clerical labor and the cognitive labor associated with it. Recently, in his retirement, he picked up a little side hustle. There's a little bit of money involved, a little bit of bills, a little bit of accounting. He said, hey, can you do this? Like, you're good at it. Like, you've been doing it for me all these years. Can you just add this on? He's like, to the hell no. She shared that a couple of years ago, she had actually boycotted. She put the bills on the kitchen table and let them sit there, see if he would do anything about it, which he did not. So the advice she was sharing with the younger women was to never completely own a task, never completely own a thing if you don't want to be doing it forever. Now, I don't give advice to women on here. I'd love to hear in the comments how people have either taken on this advice and or implemented it. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with my editor the other day. We're talking about equality versus equity. While we can strive for equality, we're just about always going to land at equity. But what that doesn't mean that tasks are siloed to one person for the entirety of a relationship. I should be able to switch roles with any responsibility in our home. There should either be no time or a very short period of time, maybe during the learning curve phase, Melissa is able to do something or vice versa that I'm not. And that's what I think equity looks like. Hi, my name's Zach. I'm a mental load coach and recovering passenger partner. Zach. I teach men to better understand invisible labor. I'm on a mission to change the way that we have domestic equality conversations. Fall for
Yeah. So this thing at the end there was like kind of like the big part where it's like the mental load of people having in a relationship. I think that that was like the interesting point to be kind of like better partners, more, yeah, I mean, it just being more like meeting the demands that are needed in a relationship so that and you
Mm.
kind of see the other side of this, I guess, with just like the completely hands off red pill guys that are just like, no, I want to come in and have everything doted over for me with which is like not possible nowadays, right? It's not possible to have like a one especially with kids, like to have one single income. It's
It's
just
definitely not
impossible.
typical. Like, I'm sure there are
Yeah.
wealthy people. I mean, there are definitely some people that couple up with this intention of like, as long as you pay for everything, I will take care of all the household. But those are more
Mhm.
like extraordinary related arrangements.
Mhm.
But um, I definitely agree with the sentiment overall, as in like I think the ideal scenario, because like in a long term monogamous relationship, not that those are the only ones that exist, but as the general trend of the most common relationship type, it's like uh, yeah, I think in the at least in my mind, ideally, like every each person, like if one of the partners falls ill, like the other person should be able to at least manage everything sufficiently, as in they should not
Mhm.
be relying on of like, oh, I haven't learned how to do this thing, and therefore, if I don't have access to my partner, or my partner literally cannot take care of it now, I'm just like left incompetent. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you should learn, I think, everything that it takes at least to a competent level, such that in those
Yeah.
situations, if a partner, let's say, falls ill or something happens, you can take over or manage everything for the time being.
Yeah.
That's the scenario to work towards, in my mind.
I agree. Prime, what do you think?
Uh, it sounds to I guess Corey's concern previously. It sounds like quite very life coachy.
Mhm.
Um,
For sure.
which not not necessarily a bad thing. Like useful advice and um, advisors can come out of like non-accredited spaces. So to be clear, I'm not saying anything negative towards this individual, but it just it seems along that track. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're coming up with different names for the same thing. And it's like, I mean, it's patriarchy, right? Like,
Sure.
patriarchy tells men that these things are not their concern; they're her concern. It gives them the space to do that, and maybe it tells their mothers that, like, this is the thing I need to take care of, and then like I never tell my son this is something that they need to be did, that is of their responsibility. Maybe I tell them, oh, you need to find a good wife who will help you with this, and so
Mhm.
I reinforce this, and then it becomes the next woman's problem, right? When you have some individuals looking essentially for a mother,
Mhm.
but again, this was just looked at as men's, like cleanly dividing things between men's labor and female labor, right? Like, or women's labor. Um, and so like, yeah, like, so we have these things called man child, or like, we'll have like these what's it called, like boy moms, right?
Mhm.
Where in boy moms is a little bit different, but like a little bit more disturbing. But still, like, it's part of like this kind of smothering effect with these individuals. Um, and then we teach women to kind of like acquiesce, and like not make trouble,
Mhm.
and that um, that you have certain responsibilities, but these things aren't like clearly defined. And so since they're not clearly, even if you want to divide things, right, these things aren't clearly defined. And so there's like a creep, that happens. You may have been in a job that this happened. I'm not sure. I was in a job where this happened, right? Where like responsibility creep takes on. And
if you demonstrate competence, they will add on more tasks of like,
that's exactly what he was talking about, right?
And if another employee is incompetent, well, give it to the competent one. And so you're incentivized.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might have an idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and there's like a level of like learned helplessness, right? That happens. Like growing up, like I hate cleaning. Effing hate it. I don't like it, right? I'll do it eventually when I get to it, when I feel like it. But I don't like it. My mom would yeah. That sounds like a perfect time. Like I gotta get around to this stuff. But like my mother, she is the opposite, which caused us a lot of friction. That like she loves to clean. Oh, love is probably not the word she would use, right? But like she demands things are clean, right? And so like this constantly caused friction between us. When I was like semi living with a girlfriend of mine, she was more on my wavelength. That like, hey, like she's a big fan of cleaning, right? But like I was like, okay, but at some point we have to clean. And so I found myself being the one like, okay, let's do this. And we're going to do it together, right? We're going to do it together. It'll be like a month. It'll be a couples thing, right?
It's a date.
Right. And we'll do it. And then I was like an interesting turn in advance. And I told this lady, right? Like, hey, never tell my mother this. Don't you ever, I will deny it. Don't you ever tell my mother I did this. But like I thought it was an interesting experience for me, right? It's not, and to be clear, like even as a child, like one, I did help out like with household chores, right? So but like I clearly didn't like doing those things, right? But I didn't feel like I could just like lay it on like someone else. And okay, so the other thing I want to talk about here is like, and what does an actual equitable division looks like? So I'm not in a relationship now, right? And our friend Dr. Greg will probably have more to say on this, but like, maybe Corey will talk about his secret girlfriend. I don't know, but like,
girlfriends, no,
girlfriends, indeed, right?
It's a Red Pill podcast now.
But like, still, like you want to try to maintain some level of balance, right? Because people do have strengths and weaknesses, right? Like I could be better with money. I could be better with money. I could be better with money. I don't like admitting that, but like I'm not like great. I'm not great sometimes, right? Like at least in terms of household stuff, right? And so like I could imagine like if I had a girlfriend, like, okay, if you're responsible, right? If you're good, it's like maybe you should take on this task, right? And as a relationship advances, like, let's say you guys are in it for the long haul, like there's going to be more things that creep up, right? Especially if you guys like buy a house, right? You're trying to maintain a household, and then children, like these things like pile up. How do you actually maintain like something that inequitable, I think is a good term for this, rather than equal? Because like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying to like find equal amount of workload for each other, but like that's a difficult thing to maintain. If you like focus on like 50-50, like I don't know, right? Like what is equal effort when like is taking out the trash the same as like cooking, right? Like cooking takes a lot of more effort, right? So like, oh, I've got my one thing where I take out the trash that needs to be taken out like once every week, right? And you got cooking, like I don't know, maybe that's fine for you, right? But again, equitable, right? Like where people don't feel taken advantage of. I guess is what I want to say, but like, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I agree. Like, I think at the end of the day, it has to be. Well, I think we're probably in agree. Like, it has to be like negotiated, and I think there's an interesting dynamic that plays out in terms of like, so the default, or at least maybe not default, but like maybe as alluded to in the article and like we're speaking about, like it's simply the overall sort of like common scenario is like the woman takes the major responsibility in terms of managing the household. And like, yes, men should be more receptive in terms of receiving feedback from the partner if they're expressing like, hey, you are not carrying your weight in the house and managing the household. But then also at the same time, probably maybe as you alluded to, I think prime of like, women are generally, let's say, socialized or maybe socialized / incentivized to, not be more vocal. Or they should be more vocal in expressing their dissatisfaction if, the other person is not carrying their weight. But then if it's the case, as in like, for example, if it's moving towards being more equitable, then I also think that probably some sort of new equilibrium, because usually I think the scenario that typically plays out is like, okay, let's say it's typically the woman who, for example, does the cooking and the dishes, but then now the man wants to start contributing to that. But then I think the typical scenario plays it like, well, then the man has to do the cooking and the dishes the way that their partner dictates. And if the dishes aren't done 100% exactly the way that the partner dictates, then that's a failure on the man's part, right? And so then is that truly equitable in that sense? In my mind, it's not, because that just means that the woman is still managing, right?
So I think Prime, you're exactly right. It's like deconstructing patriarchies and like how we understand this stuff, and honestly like redefining what masculinity is in your own mind, because it's like a lot of times I think like forcing that 50-50, like forcing that that tally system, like that counting system
Or yeah, just
is
keeping score is probably not
yeah,
the best way to go
exactly.
about.
So exactly. And so we actually had a marriage coach. We're not religious, but like Catholics do like a marriage coach thing before,
Getting
you
married,
get
yeah.
married. And we thought that was a good idea. So we went to a therapist, and it was amazing, man. It really did help. Like going to a therapist and when things are going well is a really good idea, because it basically gives you the tools to help when things aren't going bad. And we talked about this, and he said like love doesn't keep score. Love won't keep that tally system. You just give like 100%, and they give 100. And then the idea is that you're selflessly contributing to the relationship by doing the things that you're passionate about, and then they'll do the things that they're passionate about, and then you'll equal out. So for me, like I went from, so like with that mentality, I went from like, I don't want to do the dishes because the dishes suck, they're gross, to like, oh wow, my wife like was, this is a
You were
really
gonna say mom just then. That's 100%.
yeah, it was.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
But my wife is saying, hey, I want this done, this is really important to me. And instead of me being like thinking about it transactionally, I'm like, oh wow, it's hard to know how to show some love to someone. There's this book that we read too. A part of this is like the 5 love languages, and people like to have their love shown in different ways, right? And basically you could like be, gifting them something. It could be their time, it could be, acts of certain like things that you can do for them. And basically it's like, basically they're telling you like, this is how you show me love. And for my wife, it's like cleaning lets me tell her that I love her. And yeah, because I say I love you, and like she's like, okay, that's cool, but like maybe her love language isn't hearing that. Maybe she doesn't really care about me just saying I love you. She wants to like see it in action. So it went from like transactional before we went to this counselor to afterwards. I was like, oh dude, this is like easy. I know how to do the dishes. Like this is, I can do the dishes. You know what I mean? Like that's not a bad thing. Cause think about it.
What
Like,
if you don't know how to do the dishes?
Yeah, exactly. Well, imagine if you had a gift. Your gift was your love language. Like, what kind of gift are you gonna get me? Like, I don't know. You gotta figure me
Dishes.
out.
No, I'm just
You know
kidding.
what I mean? No, usually it's like, something of like they
I
make
know.
or something
Joke.
like that. But that's like that's hard. That's hard, man. What am I gonna make? How am I gonna make it? What am I gonna, how am I gonna make it special? That's harder for me to figure out. But for like dishes, dude, like dishes, like I can do dishes. So that's kind of like how so I've just taken that on like wholly, like, and that's just the thing that I do now, because it's like I know how to do it. I can do it in like less than 10 minutes and just like get it done, and then it's done. And we do the same thing with like I'll do the finances and the taxes and um the trash and the floors and like all these other things. And that my wife is like really busy right now with school and work and stuff. So I mean, but she's still managing to do like the stuff that I was talking about, like the managing the kids' schooling, the medical appointments, the extracurriculars, like all those type of things. So I gave 100% in these areas, and then she kind of like picks up where she can too. So I think that's the big idea.
Yeah, and that's great. But I'm curious, because it sounds like the advice that you receive, if I remember correctly, it's like if if each partner is giving selflessly, then it's like you'll
Mhm.
sort of like reach this natural equilibrium, and then
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
true love is never keeping score. But it almost sounds like, but what if that doesn't, or like I don't know that it's a given that that advice works for every single couple. Like if you're just giving selflessly, then you'll naturally you don't have to keep score. Things will just work out fine. I don't know that.
Yeah, I think that people, I mean, ideally, you have a relationship where you're both trying to build something that's like bigger than you individually, right? You're trying to build this
Ideally, yeah,
partnership, and then
but
they'll bring that
at
together.
least for me, sorry to interrupt, but it raises the
Yeah,
question
that's
of
fine.
like, how do you know that you are giving selflessly?
Not keeping score, like kind of just doing things and trying to um just giving 100% of yourself into the relationship. I think that
Yeah,
that's
but
the big
like
thing.
how, like in principle, that sounds good, and I'm on board with
Mhm.
that. But it's like how do you know that you're doing that? Like
How
it
the other
because
person feels, like how the other person feels too, if they don't feel
but shouldn't the other
neglected.
person be keeping score in some sense?
Mhm.
Then
No, they should be giving 100%. It's not 50-50. Hazel said it in chat, which is 100% true. It's like, it's not 50-50, it's 100%, 100%. And if
I
you
don't
have someone
disagree there,
if
but
you have
like
someone in your relationship that just isn't giving 100%, then that's the problem, right? You know what I mean? That's the bigger problem.
I think what Corey is trying to say is that, like, okay, I can give what I perceive to be 100%, right?
Mhm.
But like in the way that the division of task shakes out, it still seems to be that one person's putting out like a disproportionate amount of effort. Again, we're not aiming for 50-50 or anything, but like
yeah.
that,
Sorry to
like the
I'm just
work.
gonna interject one thing
Sorry,
of
go ahead.
like, I imagine there's gonna be some men that this article is alluding to that they're under the illusion that they're giving 100%, and that is a source of
Mhm.
conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, and also like because like it could be the case that a person is like working like really hard in terms of like um okay, there's two different scenarios here. One, it could be a case that a person like is working like really hard, especially like at work's extremely stressful, and they're coming back and then like to home, and um there's a level of friction. It's like, oh, I want you to take on more tasks. It's like I feel exhausted coming back from work, and like I feel like I can't do more than this, right? um that doesn't mean that the other person doesn't have their stressors. They could also be working themselves, right? Like outside of the home, but still, right, like that person's thinking like I am giving a lot, right, to this relationship, and this relationship wouldn't work if I didn't wouldn't be anything if I didn't go out and like do this job.
Yep.
And then there's that scenario, but there's the other scenario where like you know like you were just like never taught to do anything more, right? And like your very limited scope of 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 tasks that you feel that are acceptable, you're doing those tasks, right? You're doing those to 100%. And so like when your partner like complains, you're like, wait a minute, I don't understand, right? Like I am doing this 100%. Like this is coming out of nowhere, right? I'm not actually, I don't like get it. Why are you mad at me when like this like limited range, wherever I think that is, right? You know, like I'm doing those things and I shouldn't be expected to do anything else. Do you see the difference between those two? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in both of those aspects, you're talking about like just open in communication, right? One being that I am giving 100%. You don't think that I'm giving 100%. And then in the second one is like I have a lot going on in my life, and I need you to pick up more. You know, my 100% is yielding, or sorry, the other one is you didn't know that these things are important, or these tasks like are needed, right? It's kind of like an expertise problem. But so I would say it's just kind of like the in both of them, it's just communication, right? That having those communications with your partner, trying to say like, hey, I feel like I'm handling more of a mental load than you are on this. Can you
But
pick up
that's
the
keeping
slack?
score though.
Well,
That goes
I
against
mean,
the advice though. At least in my
but
mind.
I mean, I think you
As
can not
in my
keep
mind, based
score.
off of the advice, the rebuttal should always be. I'm not saying this is not an endorsement, but it's like, well, this you are, if someone is critiquing you or is sharing with you that like, oh, I feel like I'm doing more in
Mhm.
this relationship, like the rebuttal should be is like, well, that means you're keeping score, and you shouldn't be keeping score. But
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I do think that you want to be you want to be contributing. Both sides want to be contributing. But if there is that friction and there's that perceived friction, then I can understand. I mean, that's obviously you still have to talk about that stuff, right? I think that's and if you're getting that feedback, I think it's like internalizing that and then creating action off of that and not being defensive of it. I think that's the big thing too, is like trying to
I agree, being
be
receptive
held
is key.
accountable and being like, thank you for receiving, because you don't want to create a scenario where your partner can't come to you with problems that they have, you
For
know?
sure,
So I think
100%.
that's the biggest thing, is like trying to um, keep an open dialogue, talking to people, but then also um, but yeah, if there is that mismatch, man, there are some people where it's just like a toxic relationship that they just don't really care. Maybe they're like more interested in drugs or whatever.
Drugs.
Yeah, and you can like you definitely spiral down where you're just like, okay, well, or perception of like one living off of the other, like perceptual perpetual unemployment or underemployment or
Yeah, but
like that.
yeah,
I
go
think
ahead,
the
Fred.
thing that you're running into,
Mm,
Corey, right, is that like, relationships are complicated and they can't necessarily be reduced down to like a pithy, like a statement, right?
yeah,
Like,
I
like
agree.
everyone, you
Yes.
should all, yeah, you should all just give 100%, right? Like, and I think these things are a good place to start to like, try to get people to think in the right direction. But yeah, like this, none of this takes into account like, the complexities of two real individuals with real circumstances, right? And all
Over
that
like
comes
20,
with it.
30, 40 years potentially, right?
Yeah, and like the different stresses that happen, like deaths in the family and how that changes things, and how long should one person be allowed to grieve, and like, oh, like I'll take on this load, but then
Or
like
be
when do I
sick.
like give it up? Yeah, or get sick, like all these things that are happening, right? Like, I'm sure like our viewers, they have like they're many of them are in relationships, lucky people, but like they're facing their challenges, a whole list of challenges, and like, and the relationship has to move it, if it's going to survive, has to adapt to these things, right? But like,
Mhm.
some adaptations are fairer than others, and so like, yeah, like we can only take this, like, you know, this, there's a term for this, but like this like
Latitude.
platitude, yes, platitude, thank you, this platitude so far, right? Before we run into, like, the realities of how these things actually can play out in real life.
Yeah.
Then, and that means, like, well, hey, this is not a replacement for an actual, like, therapy, then, like, if that's what
Mhm.
you need, right? Yeah.
Which is good, and I think that that's the big takeaway. I would recommend everyone, like, since COVID, a lot of therapy, a lot of couples therapy is, like, you can go online now through apps and stuff like that, and, it's a huge benefit. A lot of workplaces and stuff will actually give, vouchers and stuff for, like, 2 or 3 times a year, and honestly, like, you don't need to go to like Seinfeld and stuff had like, "Oh, I go to my shrink 2 times a week," and you're like, "Well, that's a little impractical. Nobody needs to do that." And honestly, just like going a couple times can be really earth-shattering because it can help you realign yourself a little bit and like deconstruct something that a thought process. And then you can look at it a different way just by a couple of questions with a good therapist, and you can be like, "Oh, okay, this is really nice." So, um, you know, full disagree. I mean, obviously, if you can afford like going to the therapist
Well,
more
they're
than
the
that,
same
then
full.
that's
Like in
different.
principle, no one should be ever seeking out professional marriage counseling. That seems like a very interesting position to have. I can understand, let's say, a financial burden or financial
Weekly
barrier,
therapy
but
and weekly couples therapy. Yeah, I mean, my point, Bad Bears, is that just in case you can't afford weekly therapy doesn't mean that it's not productive to go. I think that that's the biggest misnomer that people have. Like just because you can't do that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that. No, I'm not saying that that's not a bad thing, but like that's excessive, and
yeah,
the,
but
it's a high bar.
yeah, it is. And it should ideally be more accessible. But it may have sounded like a joke when I asked it, but like I was somewhat seriously asking, like, because you said you know how to do the dishes, but like, what if you didn't know how to
Yeah.
do the dishes and like you had to be coached?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think you see this particularly with like cooking. Like, how do you like? What if I only know how to cook like a small amount of things or something? I think
Yeah,
you can look it up though. Like you can look it up. Like I don't
I don't
don't
disagree, but that's where it's
yeah
like going back to I think a typical scenario that may play out is like uh, if if one of the partners, probably maybe the woman is expressing, hey, I would appreciate if you did more of the cooking and the dishes,
yeah.
and the man takes it upon themselves to start doing that and also looking it up. But uh, if it's not up to, let's say, the other partner's standards, it's like, well, how do you navigate that? Or it's like, and I understand that there's like a threshold of like but like what should the cooking by the other partner exactly replicate what the other partner would do, type of thing, or
I mean, I think something like that, you kind of see what you like, see what you can make that would be different that they've always wanted or something like that. Like I'd never made a cake before in my life, and my wife really liked cheesecake. And so I was like, well, I'm going to make a pumpkin cheesecake, so I learned how to make the best pumpkin cheesecake like in the freaking world. And so that's what I do now, um for her birthday. And then I'll even go the extra mile and do like the ginger crusts and stuff. I make gingerbread cookies specifically just to like make the crumble on the crust. I'll bake those cookies, and then I'll make a double batch so we can have those cookies, and then I'll make half of them and then make freaking the crust out of just those cookies. It's incredible. And so like so I think like there are ways that you can kind of like take inspiration and kind of like make it your own. That's
yeah,
that's the
I
cool
don't just
thing about it.
I'll maybe use a more concrete example of like even something as simple as like loading the dishwasher. It seems like some people, in my experience, are very particular of how dishwasher is loaded.
Yeah, but that's
And
if but that's only if they're like you're loading half and they're loading half. Like, you know what I mean? If it's getting done, I don't think that they're ever gonna get mad
Some people
about it.
are gonna have a
But yeah,
problem.
but some people like
Yeah.
I've seen these arguments play
What?
out of like the dishes are done, but it's like, oh, you did not put this particular thing in this particular place the way I do it, therefore that is a fail.
So my thing on this is like, if you have that much, if you're passionate about it, that should probably be your thing. Like that should be, and
I would maybe go like, I don't disagree there, but I think that's where it's like, I think that's a negotiation of like, okay, if you want me to do the dishes, you have to maybe ease up a little on like,
yeah,
it's not going to be exactly, you should
yeah, I
be
think
happy
that's
with
fine.
95% passing. And
Yeah, I think so. Dan Savage has a good point on this. Like, who's an awesome relationship columnist, and he's talking about how, like, when like he would also but his partner would leave the jelly out, like when he was making a PB&J. He would have a that was just, and then he would just get so mad at his partner, like, oh my god, you're leaving the jelly out, what are you doing? Like, this is what you're causing this problem. He's doing this, he's leaving the jelly out. And then he just came to the realization that it's like, well, if it's your like thing, you really care about the jelly going back in the refrigerator. You've kind of like volunteered yourself to just like put it away too. It's like just put it away. Like you like the person that cares that much about it. If you're spending that much time, instead of being mad about it, just like put it away and just kind of like that it's not everyone is going to be perfect. And if that's your patience.
But that's where I think the other person should be able to, like, that's where it's, I think, a give and take of like the other person maybe learn to maybe back off or pick your battles of like, you maybe don't need to go to war on like, whether the person is, pressing on the toothpaste at the appropriate, spot. Like,
Yeah.
it's not maybe something to die on.
That's a good one too, Bad Bears. Yeah, the dishwasher argument is typically an off ramp for other things in a relationship. Yeah, I think that also comes up
that's
so
true.
much. Like, what are you actually arguing about? Is a good question. Like, what are you actually having a conversation about? Because a lot of times it's just like, man, this is like on the scheme of things. Like, are we actually like having this ongoing fight? And that's honestly, this is like that's a good place for therapy too, so you can kind of like see. Not.
I don't disagree. But there are some genuine times of some people are very obsessive about how particular things get done. Even just like with cleaning of like, if the man starts doing more of the cleaning, it's like, oh, you're not exactly cleaning the way that I would clean. And even though things are still clean, it's still things are still getting done. It's like, well, it's still a fail type of thing.
I think, but at the same time, this is also the tragedy of low expectations too. Like
Sure.
Men, because of like are like doing half the work on something and then expecting 100% of the accolades, when in reality it's like, if you're really not doing a good job at something, like you should be doing a better job at it too. Again,
I don't
like,
disagree, and there's
accountability
totally
for it.
weaponized incompetence, but
Yeah,
there's also
exactly.
there's also doing a good job, but still like there is an aspect of like, if you are, let's say, whether you can actually measure this, but assuming you are doing a job, but the critique is still happening, that eventually disincentivizes you to do anything.
Exactly.
Right?
No, 100%. I agree with that too. Yeah, I think it's,
and that's why it's like, it's hard to negotiate, but it should be negotiated, but it should be a give and take of like, okay, like, yes, the other person that, let's say, needs to start carrying their own weight, I agree, they need to put in 100% and do things competently, but also maybe there might be some backing off on the other partner, or like knowing when to pick your battles type of stuff.
I think it is one of those things where these conversations seem so I don't know. I think that like genuinely these conversations are why so many people are young people, like 18 to 25-year-olds, are going to like this MAGA trad wife kind of thing, because it's just kind of like a patriarchal. Yeah, we do have a patriarchy, and you're going to listen to what I say, and you're going to do this. I'm not going to do any dishes. You handle all this kind of stuff. And what I think what's causing a lot of this is just like these men that aren't like bucking up, man. They're not like doing their part in the relationship. And
I agree.
yeah, and I think that's the big problem is like we on the left we have to kind of like reclaim masculinity, in this guise.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's part of it. Certainly. It's just that like there's a lot of buy-in from women, from the trad wife perspective, and the buy-in is less. I want to do a lot more, or is that like I want more things to do? It's that like I want to offload other things, right? Like, hey, I
Mm.
don't want to go to work, right? I don't want to like a corporate job or anything. Like I'd like it if I had a partner who could take care of that. Um, One of the issues is that like the trad wife influencers who look glamorous as like they're doing all these things in their fancy dresses and their well lit massive kitchens, right? Like yes, they have
And their
like
perfectly
partners,
manicured nails.
perfectly manicured nails, yeah. As they're like doing the bread, which they make bread every morning or whatever. Yeah, well, like that, like it's an illusion for a lot of these women. Or they can have partners who just happen to be well off, or it's that hey, this social media thing that I've created is actually being well paid, and so like I've got a lot of help, like what you don't see are the producers who are assisting me in making all this, right? Oh, also I have childcare, right?
Mhm.
While I'm working on my social media career and all that stuff. But yeah, sure. But moving that aside, right? Like what the point is to examine the desire. And yes, there is a desire for some of these people just like because I mean work life sucks for a whole list of reasons. We don't have to name them all here, right? Um and more than that, it's like the stressors of keeping your head above water, right? Like that, we have an economy that is not looking great. And we have, uh, you know, a world filled with uncertainty. Like, this seems like, you know, from what I'm gathering from these women, it seems like they're trying to like avoid all that, right? Like to get certainty. If I have this guy, um, and let's say they're committed, right? Like the frame's like, oh, what if he leaves you and all that? Let's put that aside for now, right? This person who's committed to me, maybe the marriage or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Who's like committed to me and who's going to take care of that, right? I don't have to worry about it. Like he'll be the leader, right? Like this is there's a mindset here. There's a way of living and where this person becomes the leader and he takes care of those things. So I don't have to worry about that. There are things I'll take care of, but I don't have to worry about those things, right? Like certainty comes from his steady leadership. And like um hmm, I don't think that that desire in itself like is bad or evil, right? That like, hey, I just want a life that I don't have to deal with these things, right? Like, and it sucks, and I can maybe focus on things that I care about. Like maybe I care about like childcare. I mean, I really want to be a mother and be focused on that, right? Like, I can't tell a person that's a bad thing. It's just that like I because life is inherently uncertain. I don't know how you can truly escape all these things, and 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 your attempts to escape might put you in a situation that's really unfortunate. I don't know. I saying a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, I I think that the inevitability and the reality is just that we're gonna have a dual income. The next generation, the Gen Z women are taking the education and the autonomy approach, and I think that that's just the reality that so many people want to be something bigger than outside of their home. And I think that you can be both. And I think that even if my wife could be if I had enough to have a single income, I would still want my wife to be working or volunteering in some capacity, just so that
Well, if she wants, unless you'd force her to work. No.
no, I'm saying that I would want her to. Like, did she because it's important for our kids to see their mom or both parents, um, as people in the community, that we aren't just like are a family, that we are part of something bigger. And I think that that's an important lesson. Like, it was a big moment
I
for
don't
my
disagree, but that it sounds like you're saying, like, if the desire was not there or she had a change of heart, that would affect the relationship, presumably. It
yeah,
sounds
I would
okay.
not okay with that, because
Interesting. Okay.
because
That's
my
fair.
like my mom growing up, like, she was a nurse and she had got, on call and stuff like that. And she was um this member of this broader community where she helped families and helped other other people in times of need. And that was like a big thing for me growing up, seeing that, like, wow, we can have reverberating impacts and helping other people in society. And I think that's a
Mm.
big point.
I have no comment on as to, like, what you want within your relationship. That's fine. I like feel like
Mhm.
that's, there's nothing wrong with what you just said. I'm thinking about my own, like, what I would want and what I'd be okay with.
Mhm.
Um, you know, if my, let's say, wife came to me and said she didn't want to work anymore, but like, corporate job, whatever. And like we could afford her not to. I don't think I would deny her that. Um, like, I think her responsibilities can change, and I think she could do the things that you were saying without necessarily being in the traditional workforce, right?
Mm.
Um, like, one, like, again, if we're raising a family, well, she can focus on that. Assuming that's, I would assume that's what she's wanting me to do. Maybe she doesn't want to do that either. That's
No
like the
work,
other,
no
right?
family, just couch and bed.
It could it could be one of those.
It's possible.
There's a soft life, right? You guys have heard that, right? Like,
Absolutely, yes.
yeah, there's women who want the that soft life thing. And I don't know, I'd like to be the type of guy who can afford that, right? That seems unlikely, but like, if I was, okay, well, then things open up, I guess. I don't know, right? But putting that aside, um like, yeah, so, like, I guess, like, I don't want to have a rigid idea of like what contributing means.
Mhm.
And so, like, I want to give space to that. And again, this is not a criticism, right, at all. Like, I'm just like thinking out loud as to like how I would what I would want. I guess I'd want to give her the space to do that. Again, assuming I can provide that. I don't know. Again, thinking out loud.
Go, last word, Corey. We'll go for it.
I'm more or less of the same mentality. I'm like, let's say, I'm open to, like, let's say, if my future partner also like wants to quit their job and even like they don't want to focus on family, but like,
Mhm.
they want to do some soul searching type of stuff. It's like, I'm not opposed to that, assuming I could afford it. But like, yeah, if they want like the permanent arrangement of them just more or less doing nothing, yeah, that would not fly with me. I at least want them. I would want them to find meaning in doing something other than just, yeah, sitting there or lying there. That seems, yeah.
Hold on. But what if the thing that you want to focus on is being beautiful for you?
I would like to think that I am not that egocentric that I would be okay with that.
I'm not entirely sure I wouldn't.
That's fair. That's fair. But
But I
that
don't know.
seems a little bit off.
I
But
get
yeah,
that's like, it's a
even if they're like, yeah,
person who can
I
afford
just
that.
want to go to the nail salon and get my hair done every day just for you. Like, again, I don't know how exactly I would feel if I'm ever in a situation, whether I will be. But if I'm speculating, something seems off for me for that, or that doesn't feel right to me.
High five, man.
My actual problem with that is not
Mhm.
that desire in of itself, right? I think my problem with that would be like, the type of person that I've like tied myself to,
Mhm.
that like, uh, 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 that type of person, I think, has a set of values, right, or priorities that, like, doesn't seem conducive to like a long-term relationship, right? Like a
Yeah.
long-term,
I
like
think that would
through thick or thin type of situation. That's what I'd be worried about. That's fine for like a short-term thing, right? For fun. But that's less fine for, hey, we're going to create something lasting, where one person just like is kind of is checked out in that way, and it's just like live that soft life, right? Like I just, it doesn't sound like a person that like I can necessarily rely on, and that's my issue. Rather than I mean, I like
No,
him.
you're
I want
probably
him to look
like
pretty for me, but like other than that,
as you said it, like almost certainly there is a part of that that results in that situation not feeling good to me. As in, like there seems to be a clash in values
yeah,
fundamentally, and that's probably influencing, or that's part of the reason why I feel the way that I do. But there's also the fact
yeah.
that like the just doing that just for me. Yeah, there's other things as well, but what you said is absolutely part of it for sure, which is that
Yeah.
clash in values.
All right, guys. Last story of the night. AI data centers are making your energy costs higher, and now viruses are coming out of them. So the AI just created viruses not found in nature. Scientists trained artificial intelligence on libraries of DNA and then asked the model to create recipes for viral genomes. 16 of them were viable, yielding new viruses. New York Times, August 6th. For the first time, scientists have used artificial intelligence to create new kinds of viruses, raising hopes for medical advances while also raising the disturbing possibility that the technology could someday be used to invent dangerous pathogens. Synthesizing viruses from scratch is hardly new. Researchers long ago learned how to manufacture viral genomes. They are used to investigate antiviral drugs and vaccines, as well as learn how viruses work. But the new study, published Thursday in the journal Science, goes well beyond duplicating viral genomes. Scientists at Stanford and Arc Institute, a research organization in Palo Alto, taught AI to recognize patterns of DNA structure in nature and then use that data to write recipes for entirely new viruses. The researchers followed these recipes to create DNA molecules, which they inserted into bacteria. The modified bacteria then produced viruses never seen in nature. The viruses were able to infect other bacteria, demonstrating that they are viable. Pretty awesome stuff. I think biologically, I think as a biologist, I think that this is amazing. I think that this is very cool. So some medical advances that could be from this, other than like the fear mongering. So imagine like microbial resistances, for example, like instead of having to only rely on like yeast or other microbes to find antibiotics, like maybe we could engineer our own class of antibiotics that was not resisted before, that kind of thing. And it gives a really interesting capability to remember, like, so viruses are delivering DNA, delivering RNA. Now we could use this technology to create new types of viruses for like larger payload delivery, for example, because right now a pretty big limitation is actually like how big the viral capsid is. So like that payload, that DNA or RNA payload is limited by that. So it'd be cool to deliver new types of technologies with different types of viruses and basically try to be more specific, larger payloads, that kind of thing.
Yeah, seems really cool. Although, so I have not dug into the actual original research paper yet, but at least based off of my algorithm, this our article and this headline was circulating quite a bit. So I'm curious, how much traction it's getting in the general public. But I would say this seems maybe not overblown, but doesn't seem as let's say scary as it's being made out to be. Because like, yeah, technically what they did, you can the ability to do this. You can do this now. It just so happens that like AI played a part in the steps of this. That's all, and they just happened to come up with some new DNA sequence. But there's nothing, I would say, super groundbreaking yet. But this is potentially a step in that direction. But all that to say is like, yeah, cool, but I think maybe a little bit overblown or over exaggerated. As in, I don't think this is going to result in any new viruses that are a threat to human health in the near future. I could be wrong.
Agreed.
But,
Agreed. Yeah. I mean,
But-
it's interesting. Someone did another bioinformatics paper analyzing it, and it seems like the virus is basically like mimicking structures that are already found in nature. So
yeah,
which is kind of
exactly.
cool.
It's just kind of like, from what I understand, from what I extracted just from the article, I have not read the original research paper, but I hope to pretty soon. Just like, some this well-characterized bacteriophage, and again, bacteriophage as in a virus not infectious to humans, that only infects bacteria.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's one of the reasons why they chose it. Yeah,
which makes sense, and I'm glad that was the step that they took. But like, yeah, just so happens that A played a part and it resulted in just like, a virus having genes that it didn't have before, but it was still the same virus, as in it didn't like they didn't create any sort of brand new virus, just like a virus that was tweaked a little bit and tweaked in a way that we hadn't seen before. That's about it, at least from what I gathered from the article. But one thing that I'll add is like, well, where's all the outcry, or are these researchers going to be prosecuted for gain of function research?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's so
How much more gain of function can you get?
Oh my god.
Who funded this? Is this,
dude, that's so funny.
Is this under RFK's watch? I believe this is under Stanford in the US.
That's amazing, because he's banned it, because Trump banned gain of function research, bro. That's what he said. I've been going on all these TikTok panels talking about the Fauci stuff, and everyone's been saying that how hey Ness, about how it's like he's done a great job. Trump has really handled this well. We're prosecuting these guys. We're banning gain of function research. That's not happening. I'm like, bro, it's happening. It's
you
just
have
that
new
you don't know
viruses,
about it.
right in your own backyard. This is out of the US, I believe.
That's a good point. Oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, any thoughts, Prime? What are you thinking about?
I think that something else we've discussed multiple times is that this is this is perfect for sorry, this bugged my screen. Sorry, this is perfect for a viral headline. I wasn't trying to make a pun there. But like, it works. This is perfect for like, there's a hot button issue, a thing that people are scared about. We can link it to some other, we can imply some sci-fi doomsday scenarios happening, right?
Mhm.
And then we can allow people's imaginations to just do the rest, right?
Yep.
Fill in the blanks,
Exactly.
right? Like, and so like now AI is inventing viruses, like, what? I don't know.
And that is
like,
effectively the headline, right? And that's probably what's going to be implanted in the general public's head. But that's not really what
exactly. I think that's the whole idea that these data centers are now going to be spinning out like biological viruses and pandemics from them. Is that that's what I see people coming away from it.
But like, yeah, I mean, some people will be joking on the internet about this, right? Because they know it's silly, but they're having fun of it. Others will be like thinking this is the end, right? Like we're like a sign of the apocalypse, and like it works one way or other in terms of engagement. Actually, it works very well that way, and so it spreads even more on social media, right? As long as you're engaged with the story, it doesn't really matter like what you're thinking of it. And so like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like it seems like there's like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like, all it is coming up with the sequence of nucleotides, right? Like,
you're effectively correct.
Yeah, here like we're gonna like train the model on a whole a library of like sequences that we have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you create another sequence that is valuable, right? And then it did, right? It just like remixed, those 4 letters, right? It just remixed it into something that actually, was, and that's great. I mean, assuming like this, the research is being honest with like the results and all that, right? But like, yeah, it remixes something that it was. So like, but like it was just like a list of letters, right? And from there, it's like, oh my God, super weapons, like biological super weapons are coming out of these labs now, powered by AI, the other thing that we dislike.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And so I don't know, man. Yeah, it's perfect for this type of thing. That being said, I think like I'm trying to give like the most charitable interpretation of like a fear. And like the X factor here is always like a bad actor, right? Fill in the blank as who you think is a bad actor, because if you think anyone who would have worked with Fauci is a bad actor, well then that's something else, right? But like, let's say, but okay, like, and by this, like we mean like either some guy working like in his basement, right, in the lab, and he was like up to no good, right, and he's like trying to like make a biological weapon or hurt a massive number of people, or right, a state actor working to have a weapon. And so like I guess the fear is that like this would increase their productivity, right? Like the article said, like people, we've known how to do these things for a long time, right? So this would increase the productivity, lower the barrier, right, to be able to do this, right? The barrier of entry to be able to do this, and then from there make this into a more dangerous world. So I want to ask you two, right? So like, rather than me speculate on that, because I don't know, like, is that possible? Like, is that Steel Man? Is that something that something to be concerned about?
So
Yeah, go ahead.
basically, I would say every single upgrade in molecular biology machinery and tools that we have technically is an increased ability in order to create a bioweapon, like just inherently, right? A CRISPR was a big thing. This is like a huge thing now. Oh my gosh, now everyone is more easily going to be able to target specific people's genomes. Oh my God, now that we have sequencing on everyone, oh my gosh, now we can have people's sequences, and then we could target specific people with bioweapons and that kind of stuff. So I think that's the bigger thing. How these things are actually made, the safeguards that are in check, because technically I have all the skills necessary in order to do something like that too. Like, but you basically the DNA synthesizers, like
Yeah, you don't have all the
literally
resources though. Do you have
yeah.
a thermocycler in your
Well,
garage?
even if you did, basically the people that print the DNA and that send it to you do checks on this stuff. They check and make sure that you're not like binding to something, a human cell, and you're a virus or something.
Unless we're talking about a state actor, right?
I
Or,
mean,
yeah, your own
theoretically, you could
synthesizer.
buy the $500,000 machine in order to synthesize it. If you have that money, yeah, that would be it. But yeah, it'd be very expensive, and you would be under some type of institutional support for sure. It'd be expensive. We actually at UC Riverside, they literally taught a class on bioweapons, like how to make them, because you need to know how to make them in order to defend against them, in order to recognize them, and which is another reason why lab leak isn't real, because you literally, like, it has none of the handles that you would need to, like, in order to work with the virus that you could use for that purpose. So yeah, it's interesting, man. I think but you're right. I think that it's completely overblown.
Well, so I agree with the sentiment that, like, yeah, every advance in technology in the molecular world, the molecular biology world, like, yeah, lowers the barrier for what other bad actors to develop something. But at the end of the day, at least even in this research and all similar research that I have seen, even with CRISPR, it requires a human carrying out molecular techniques at the end of the day, and the ability to do that is very limited, I would say. Right, so
It's hard.
You can have all the tools. You can. I don't care. I don't mind giving away free synthesizers for everybody. I'm not concerned of your ability to do anything with it. Let's put it that way.
It is to go from DNA to a tube to a full blown virus is very hard. I mean, Prime, the hellscape scenario that you're envisioning is basically very akin to actually the viruses that are being thawed right now in the permafrost that basically are possibly, basically viruses that could be attaching to cells in our body that our bodies have never seen. So we have no antibodies for, which is called, it's a novel virus when that's the terminology for it. That's why they called SARS-CoV-2 a novel coronavirus, because we had never seen that ACE2 spike protein that it had, that handle into our ACE2 cells before. So that was the term for it. But the idea is that that was just a different type of coronavirus. Imagine like a whole new different type of virus that our bodies have never seen, and now it just gets released into the world, and now our bodies have no way to stop it. We've never cultured these types of viruses. We don't know how to work with them. We don't know where to make the vaccine. Like a bunch of different problems that could arise from it. That's kind of like the problem, potentially.
And even research, like I think people understandably don't realize just how messy biological research is. So like, and even just replicating this, I would imagine, is not going to be super easy. Totally doable, but like, no, I don't think anybody in the general public can take this paper and do anything with it or anything.
Yeah. It's exactly. I mean, this is. Go ahead. Go for it, Prime.
Yeah. I'm just like, again, I'm trying to like take it to some sort of pragmatic, logical solution here, right? Like, so I hear you. At least I think I do. That like, the process of like, coming up with a biological weapon isn't so simple, right? If it was, then anyone could do it, right? Like that there are other barriers, right? Like this gives you a sequence. Let's say in the best case scenario, but best case, worst case, I guess, scenario, right? Like this AI can provide you a sequence, but then like assembling that sequence would be difficult. Is that what you're saying? That like to actually put together
and actually packaging into a virus. It's a whole set of steps to go from like DNA sequence, and you've actually grown a virus from.
So okay, so
there's 20 steps.
So how and how much how much work does this save, right? Like, okay, so let's take away the AI, right, and it providing this sequence, right? Like, how much more work intensive would that process be without that?
The AI to create a new virus that we've never seen before.
Whether it's new or not, like the point is like a virus that can be used as a weapon or something.
You could do that. You could do that through directed evolution. A month, maybe.
A month?
Yeah.
I would say the AI is not saving like that much time.
Yeah, I'd say it's about a month.
Okay. So that's what I'm looking for, right there. Because and again, this is not like I don't have like a fear. I'm not like like when Corey sent me this, whatever. It was not a big deal. Not anything to panic over, but like if a person were to panic, right? Like I can imagine like their thought process. It's like, okay, well now it's just making it easier for people to get up to nefarious deeds. But if from these two who are experts on this field, or at least have a level of expertise on this field, if you're telling me that like actually no, this doesn't do all that much, it would be a useful tool in this process, right?
For sure.
But like it doesn't necessarily like make it so like you're rather than coming to school with an AR-15, right? Like that misanthrope high schooler right? It comes
You're
in
coming to school
with
with a
like a
test tube.
biological
With a-
weapon. Yeah, like a test tube, right? Like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. You still have to worry about the AR-15, but like, you know, you don't have to worry about like a biological weapon being released because now it's just so easy to do so because we got AI, you know. That's the thing that I think is really important. That like, no, actually, there's just still a lot of expertise, and even then, right, like the whole process is messy, and then I guess maybe getting, you guys could tell me this or not, like creating a virus that does exactly this thing, like, you know, binds to these sites, and knowing like how it will interact within a human body, right, and have
Mhm.
this output, right, because we've talked about it before, right, like what kind of uh, virus, right, or pathogen, like makes a good um pandemic, right? Because not all of them do, right? Like you have to, there are certain aspects that makes them that way,
Exactly.
right? That allows them to spread very quickly and then from there be deadly, right? And so like uh actually designing something that does that, right? And that you understand how it interacts within the human body, and then it actually spreads, right? And in the way, and transporting it and like manufacturing enough of it in the quantities to make this
that you need.
happen.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
Yes.
exactly,
essentially.
exactly.
I would say that's like one of, in my mind, one of the strongest cases of lab leak against lab leak of like
Mm.
or an intentional lab leak of like someone actually designed this virus. Like pretty much for someone to get it right on the first shot is so astronomically low. Like someone would have to be like running trials with people of like
Mm.
determining, how it infects, infectiousness, transmissibility, all that stuff. And to get it right, to do none of those things and to get it right on the first shot is just so
Mm.
minuscule, astronomically small that it's like virtually like, yeah, you have a better chance of winning the lottery. Like,
Corey, you know
Mm.
the furin cleavage site in SARS-CoV-2 is out of frame too. Did you
yes,
know that?
that was vaguely in the back of my mind.
Yeah, so great. So out of frame, basically, there's the sequences of creating a codon, the ACTs and Gs. Basically, if you shift it just one forward, imagine if you had a sentence and all the letters and the words were just shifted like one forward. So you'd still have all of them in the same position, but you would just have all the letters like shifted one over. Like instead of THE for the, it would have like ATH, and you would just be like, because there's an A before that or something. So it's just so funny, the ideas of through evolution, basically directed evolution, you test a lot of different types of these type of viruses a lot quicker, than AI basically still has to be tested. Even in their paper, they tested like 100 of them or something, and 16 worked. So it's like, even in their own study, like a bunch of them failed. And yeah,
And this
Prime
is
did.
with using state of the art tools.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
exactly. I think the analogy, I'm determined everything to video game analogies are how we understand the world, ladies and gentlemen. So so instead of like thinking in how the articles is written, that you become like a super character in like a raid boss or something, you actually basically, it's more akin to like you had a new type of armor or something, that like you had a breastplate, and then now you put some chainmail on there or something, and it's like on the armor slot is the same, the values are a little bit different, but nothing else is really different, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that it's a new, and the thing is like a new item was created, and you're like, okay, well, it's a new item, it's a new chess piece technically, but like, did it make my character like super strong, or did it make me like stronger so I could like kill a raid boss with one blow or something? Like, no, it's just a new item that didn't exist in the game. So it's not as like, it's not as it's not as fancy, because it's basically just like, yeah, it copied what was already there in nature, because it's a generative AI, right? Which is going to take things together
it
and
just
kind of
shuffled the
like
deck
see.
and just
Yeah,
introduced,
exactly. So it's going to
and it gave
find
you a
out.
viable hand. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's cool. I mean, it is interesting, but you're right in that it's a better headline, and this is why when front page of the New York Times above the fold, which is pretty gnarly. So I think that's exactly why it's everything all in once. The AI data center fears with the pandemic thing, with lab leak happening last week with the Fauci hearings and all that kind of stuff. So it's just
So I don't remember this being stated, but like it seems like well, maybe this, I don't know. I'll just ask you, right? Like it seems like a good comparison. I was going to say use the word control, but maybe that doesn't work here. But like a good comparison for the efficaciousness, like the effectiveness of this AI model would be like how well does it work compared to a random number generator, right? Because like there's four, there's four of the nucleotides or whatever, right? Like
Yeah, no, you got it right. There's 4 nucleotides.
Okay, sorry, yeah, I'm always worried
Well,
I'm saying something stupid.
4 canonical nucleotides.
Yeah,
correct.
Oh my god, there's something else. No,
this is the 5th one. There's a uracil. That's it. You just
pseudouridine. We're gonna put in zero.
But anyway, so yeah,
go ahead.
But yeah, there's just 4, right? And so you could just easily design a program, right? Random number generator that just like cycle through give you a sequence of those 4, right? And like give them 100 of those, and like so you'll have 200. Like one from the random number generator, one from the AI, right? It'd be interested to see like which one comes up with like something that is, comes up with more they're more valuable, right? Like because if it can't beat a random number generator, then you've got nothing.
That's fair. Right? That seems like a reasonable control.
I would say it's a lot better than a random number generator.
That's
just
what
to correct the record. Just to correct the record, I said they synthesized 100. It was 300. So 300 out of 300, they got 16 viable phages. So
yeah, no, that's like that's a pretty low percentage success rate.
Yeah. I mean, it's about 5%, right? I mean, like I'm curious, like can it? And also, I don't know this. Maybe you guys will have a better knowledge into that. Like, how much could a person working on their own, right? If they had to generate like 300 of these things, like by some other means, like would they have a better success rate? Like I don't know, but anyway, like between a random number generator, like I don't know, 5%, like
all 300 of them, by the data analysis and the stats the AI did on those were considered like AI data science biologically viable. Like on paper they looked good, and then in reality 5% wound up being successful. This is my problem.
Well, testament to what I said of like biological research is Bessie. Like you can make all the predictions that you want. When you actually get into the lab, everything just falls flat on its
exactly, bro. Exactly. Like this is my problem with like AlphaFold getting the Nobel Prize too. And I was like, they're like, oh my gosh, all these new medicines that it synthesized. And
well,
I'm
that's
like,
the headline now. Like
what? Like it didn't like hundreds of new medicines. It created these hypotheses. It basically created the 300, viable phages, but they weren't actual viable. And then they aren't real medicines. They're just like, antibodies or something. That's not a medicine. It needs to be tested. And so,
but the general sentiment now, at least in my experience for the general public, is like AlphaFold solve protein folding. Like that has seemed to has been stuck in the minds of the general public, at least in my experience.
It's like
I don't think is a
super
good thing.
Small protein interactions, super small. It's not like, it's just not. It's so frustrating.
It's a major milestone. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to like necessarily downplay it, but I also don't want to like overblow it as well.
AI. The best thing I can tell people is the AI makes educated guesses. They make hypotheses that need to be tested in the lab. Every single one of them. So none of them are like slam dunk. I have an AI now. I don't need to do this kind of thing. And people overestimating the power of AI is inevitably the next 20 years in biology research, because there is just we have a fact of the matter in biology is, like you said, Corey, very complicated. It's very, very complicated.
Yeah, and if anything, I'm more whatever, skeptical of AI doing anything meaningful in biology. I think at least when it comes to the large language models, I don't think the large language models are going to do much to revolutionize the life sciences. But I
Yeah.
could be wrong about that.
I mean, we've been using deep learning and neural networks, in like
Yeah, those are
in
different
science for
stories then.
a long period of time. I mean, I remember Francis Arnold working with them in like 2017, 2018. So it's very, very cool, like how long science has been using them. So I I I think that they create things that need to be tested, and we're never gonna and this is also, guys, why animal models are so important, and this is why RFK removing animal model testing is not a good idea, because it, creating it could look really good on paper. It could, and it could look good on
A
cell tissue
medicine.
culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actual medicine. It could look good on actual cell tissue
Mm.
culture, but then to go right to humans from cell tissue culture is extremely dangerous. And this is exactly why, because
Mm.
you don't know like how many are going to be correct. You could be risking a lot of adverse side effects. It's very dangerous. So anyway, give you guys the last word.
You can go first, Corey.
Okay, sure, yeah. Well, actually, just to put a pin
Yeah,
on what you just
go for it.
said, Greg, as in, like, I think a good tragic case of this and reinforcing how messy biological research is like what we were speaking about, I think either last week or the week before, of like, yeah, that case in China with the gene therapy and resulting in the death of like, you had very serious researchers actually like carrying out some of the research, and despite all their best attempts, like it still unfortunately resulted in a death. And that was like, you had a competent researcher, and you had a competent researcher being paid to carry out some of the preliminary experiments to hopefully provide evidence of proof of concept. And then once they tried to make the jump to an actual patient, unfortunately ended in tragedy. And so, yeah, to think that you're going to go from like AI to like, oh, we now have an infectious virus to humans I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, especially with like a large language model. But I could be wrong about that. And if anything, I look forward I'm more leaning towards of like, I think by applying the large language models to the life sciences are going to expose some of the limitations of the large language models. At least that's my sort of tentative prediction. But yeah, you can find me on Twitch, Corey Comedy 4, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Substack. It's Corey Campbell. And on the topic of Substack, I have a series of articles currently being published weekly for the next few weeks about a particular health grifter that I think is very problematic. That even though despite they have their MD from Harvard and their PhD from Oxford, they have a very terrible thesis. And they have very questionable health recommendations, put it that way.
I feel like that's was unnecessary to attack Dr. Greg right here on his own show.
Give me the link to that, and I can put it in the show notes and description.
Yes, absolutely. Give me 1 second. I'll send it to you in the Discord.
Yeah, shout out to Corey and all that he's doing. Yeah, and I don't have much more to say on this. That like it was a media sensation, right? Like it's the easy thing, right? Like, and the thing that's doing the most work is your own imagination as to like what these things will equal out. And to be fair, right? Like, and I don't want to denigrate other people, like non-experts. Like, I don't know, what else are you supposed to do? Like, if you don't understand a story, like how else are you supposed to process it, right? Like, I guess like I would always like caution against panic. That's the only thing I could say, right? Like, caution against panic against a lot of these stories. Understand that there's a benefit for sensationalism when it comes to journalism, period, right? Not just when, and we're talking about sciences, just in general, and just, take a breath, right? before then. Sometimes there are things you have to panic about, but like most things aren't that, right? That's why the world hasn't actually like fallen apart, right? With like the absolute title, the ocean of like articles that spell doom, right, that have been published, right? Not just in English language, but in all other languages, right? You would think society would have been over by now, right? But yet we still tick on. So I would just caution against like panic when you see these types of things. And if possible, right, like try to visit, uh, get the word of like experts in the field that you trust, see what they have to say. And that's just not, that doesn't have to necessarily mean an influencer, right? Because a lot of influencers who pretend that they know what the hell they're talking about, they're just like talking out their ass. So like actually someone who has a level of subject matter expertise on this, who can provide sound advice and like put things in perspective. I really appreciated Corey and Dr. Greg for doing that, right? I don't have that. I mean, again, I wasn't panicked or anything like that, but like, I mean, I didn't get a DM from Corey like like
Run.
the doom is upon
Stock up
us.
on toilet paper right now. Go to your nearest CVS. Get all the toilet paper.
So I'll wait on that. But yeah. So like then, but like, yeah, but still, like to just actually be able to walk us through, like, okay, well, this is what the steps that would have to happen before a freaking super weapon happens, that's useful. And it's calming and like it gives you perspective. So again, I very much appreciate Corey and Dr. Greg being so kind as to share with us all that. So find me twitch.tv, youtube.com, kick.com, Primekai, PRIMECAYS. Love to have you.
Cool. Always a pleasure. Look forward to
All
next
right,
week.